With the resurgence of interest in Star Wars from The Force Awakens in late 2015 and on, there have been more eyes and attention than ever on the studios behind the video games to make good games. I think it's safe to say that stuff we've gotten recently is pretty stinking sucky. From characters so ugly you can smell them through the screen, to characters as dry as your mouth after that 5-minute nap after school. This is exactly why modern Star Wars games suck. Our journey begins in 2004 with the release of what I'll be referring to as the standard going forward, or maybe if I forget, I don't know. Pandemic Studios' Star Wars Battlefront. For anyone over the age of familiarity of words like Skibbity Riz Ohio Sigma, this game was just simply part of your childhood. I can only wonder what kind of people we would be today without this game basically being an uncle to us. Nevertheless, part of the impact of this game comes directly from just how amazing the game is. Not only was it big back in the day, but it rocked. Why? Of course, part of its fame comes from the fact that you play as the Empire or Rebels sometimes and live out all the battles that were in the movies. You finally get to experience what each big fight was like, but on the ground, as the regular person. But I believe the majority of its success and awesomeness can be attributed to how simple it is. It didn't really set out to break any records, expand the Star Wars universe in a big way. Of course, this is all by today's standards. It set up something simple and put all their creativity and focus into that. Heck, Star Wars Battlefront's story just follows Star Wars movies, so they didn't even have to come up with that. Again, it's just about setting up something simple and putting 100% into that. Remember this point, guys, because we'll be coming back to this soon. With the success of the first game, it was only a matter of time until we got a sequel, and the release of the sequel itself proves my point, which is actually hilarious. The release of Star Wars Battlefront 1 was in September of 2004. The release of number 2 was on Halloween of the next year. So only a little over a year we got the first one, and then we already had the second one. That's how easy and simple they were to make, but they were so good. The first one sold over 4 million copies, and screw it, Battlefront 2 sold over 6 million copies in just 2 years. People wanted these games. They were good at what they did because they didn't set out with huge ambitions or goals. It was a simple challenge, and they, of course, exceeded it by far. Boom, that is a success story. Now, we have one more stop to make before we fully dive into the mess. Yuck. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is possibly one of the best success stories out there, but it's also really important in this situation because it throws a ton of crap into the faces of the people and companies making the current Star Wars games today. Fallen Order didn't necessarily follow the same pattern that Battlefront did with the whole simple thing. Instead, it takes a dive into expanding the Star Wars universe in a huge way. New creatures, new planets, new ships, and tech. It's amazing, but without one key ingredient, it all would have been swept away and been just like the other modern Star Wars games. Terrible. And that key ingredient is faithful. Fallen Order, though the majority of the game is new to Star Wars, it stays true to what made Star Wars amazing. It was faithful to Star Wars in the music, which sounded almost as if the legendary John Williams himself composed the score. It was faithful to Star Wars in the world, aesthetic, and feel. It was faithful to Star Wars with, most importantly, giving you the hope and feeling of the OG movies. When Luke is staring off into that binary sunset, with the music roaring, about to embark on a mission to not only save the universe as we know it, but to make friends that he'll never forget and create an adventure of a lifetime, an adventure we all long for, we can't help but feel we're getting blasted with the full power of a Hawaiian wave. It's something so hard to capture, a feeling so real and important to us all, yet so hard to describe, let alone replicate. Fallen Order did this. There is an amazing adventure ahead of you and you know it. It stayed true to Star Wars, the hope and optimism and desire for adventure that naturally comes with youth. Star Wars nailed it all the way back in the 70s, and Fallen Order nailed it in 2019. Now, I hate to change the music and feel on you guys, but every rainbow comes to an end. Guys, I'm trying to build a community here of people who want to play great games. That's you. Are you ready to tag along this adventure that we are building? Comment it up down below. I want to talk with you guys all the time. Like the video, subscribe, and share. Share this to the homie. You know which one I'm talking about. We got this, guys. This shining sunny moment is taken away from us by EA's 2015 Star Wars Battlefront, where it all began. One of the most anticipated games of that year only turned out to be a heartless husk of a game. While the graphics were beautiful, the game was just lacking so much. Not only was the game modes heavily limited, and the majority of them either being super boring and pointless or extremely repetitive, but that was about it. I mean, that was pretty much the game right there. That's just it. This left pretty much the entire fan base disappointed. Now, whenever there was a DLC or anything that offered, any more than the tiny bit of actual content in the game already, They were more expensive than they should have been. To get something simple like a new hero or a new map, that'd be roughly $15 back in the day. EA later came out with a deal that put all the DLCs together for $50 this time, but once again, you're putting more money into adding features to a game when all those features and way more should have already been in the game to start with? Amazing. Well, only 2 years later, we got the answer to all of our problems. Kinda. Actually, not at all. EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 was hyped up to be amazing. It's round 2, guys. This has got to be it. Second time's the charm. The graphics were even better. There was more content in the game. It felt like an actually 100% completed game. Finally, we got it. No. It was only a matter of time before the curse of microtransactions caught up to EA. In the time roughly between the release of the first game and up to the second one, the modern video game industry politely, of course, took a swan dive off a cliff and politely, of course, paved the road to where we are now, which isn't any better at all, with gold. I have, of course, an amazing video on this. Yes, I know I'm amazing. Just whatever. Go watch it. After you watch this one, because it's amazing, though. The sole purpose of Star Wars Battlefront 2 was to suck as much money out of us as possible. The game was decent, sure, but everything was behind a paywall. In its essence, it was pay to win. You had to buy heroes and villains, you had to buy maps and game modes, yada yada yada. It didn't ever end. This left the fans bummed out yet again. It was better than the first game because it wasn't a pain to play, but still. Now for the final boss, Star Wars Outlaws. In the years leading up to this stinky, game, we've gotten Fallen Order in 2019 and then Jedi Survivor in 2023, which were both amazing. This has only inspired us to want more from Star Wars. We not only want games where we play as the powerful Jedi and so forth, we want games where we play as just a regular Joe going through the regular Joe life of this universe. We're interested, we want to know. And the key to our desire is this stinky looking woman. Star Wars Outlaws. Scheduled to be released in only a couple days on the 30th, a lot of eyes are watching this game. Will it rock? Will it suck? Well, I kinda already know the answer to it just by watching the trailer. And no, it's not because of her smell. A couple days ago, IGN released the first 10 minutes of gameplay for Outlaws. It don't look good. Not only is massive entertainment simply making fun of Star Wars and the fans with this scene right here, you're telling me she just walks away from a thermal detonator without a scratch at point blank? But they've also designed a game full of busy work. Let's go, guys. Yay. Hooray. I'm so excited. To get a turret on your ship, you have to steal a Sarlacc tooth. Yay. To steal a Sarlacc tooth, you have to travel all the way out there and kill a bunch of guys and then finally get the tooth. But oh no, someone steals the tooth from you. So to get a turret on your ship, you have to now steal the tooth back from the guy who stole the tooth from you. Yay, but this of course turns into a whole other fight scene in a completely different place just to get the tooth back. Yay, again. All the while she still stinks, guys. And I don't think Massive Entertainment put in this busy work at the beginning of the game just to stop it and start making actual content right after. Nope. As much as I love the feel and aesthetic of the Yakuza games, they're busy work. Outlaws literally reminds me of this one time in Yakuza, this is years ago, so bear with me guys, where I had to steal a ticket or something stupid, I forgot, it's been a while, and give it back to the kid who it belongs to, right, who it was stolen from. Well, just when I find the guy who stole it, someone else steals it from him and then hides. Well, just as I find this new guy, the same thing happens. 2 more times. This is Star Wars Outlaws, guys. Busy work, stinky characters, and not staying true to Star Wars. They're gonna fall into the same trap of being so focused on expanding the Star Wars universe that they leave behind what truly made Star Wars, Star Wars. Everything we talked about before. Not only are the graphics and physics of the game simply kind of stupid and embarrassing for this time and budget, but all this so we can feel like we wasted our time with busy work and a game that's lost the feel of Star Wars? Fallen Order nailed it. The OG Battlefronts closely followed the movies and of course, thus, also nailed it. But Outlaws has put all their money behind expanding the universe, a universe this game fails to actually connect with. To be honest, in my eyes, Fallen Order was very close to losing its way. They came up with so many new ideas, creatures and ships and planets and so on, that it didn't really look like Star Wars. But it was where the heart of the game was that kept it true and pure. I have very little faith in Outlaws having the same heart, adding it right back to the pile of modern, heartless Star Wars games. Hooray. Simply put, the OG Battlefront games were spectacular for dozens of reasons, but mainly because they set out with a simple goal and overachieved it. Point 1. Simplicity and overachieving goals. Years later, Fallen Order came out and heavily pushed the world of Star Wars into many different directions. With the addition of new creatures like that bat thing, planets, and so on, it was the fact that they stayed true to Star Wars that kept them from going too far. Point 2. The perfect balance between a new vision, yet staying faithful. Now, when we compare some of the more recent Star Wars games to this, we get a completely different story. EA's Battlefront was just lacking so much. It was empty and pretty much pointless to play, as barely any of the game modes gave even a half-decent reason to spend time on. It's just empty. EA's Battlefront 2 was just designed to get as much money out of us as possible, with microtransactions around every corner and the game just being designed to be pay to win. Its quality has been significantly affected. The result is an empty game with dollar signs plastered everywhere, because hey, money. Star Wars Outlaws, though it's not out yet, is also going to suck. With Outlaws being made in the modern gaming market, I will not be surprised when there are dozens of microtransactions scattered throughout the game, even if it meant putting them in awkward places or, hey, affecting the quality of the game. Not only that, but the game just doesn't take Star Wars seriously. You're telling me that the thermal detonator blew up right at her feet, and her stinky jacket doesn't even have a scratch on it? That's embarrassing. Not only that, but the gameplay looks full of busy work. That's not going to work well. And lest we forget, I have very little faith in this game actually capturing the feel and heart of Star Wars. They can make music that sounds like John Williams. They can have fonts or even crazy transitions like the original movies. But under all of that was a true idea of adventure against all odds and youth. It's easy to talk about, maybe even recognize, but hard to replicate. Combined all of this to get a perfect game. Outlaws don't got it. Well, what do you think? First of all, I know I didn't talk about KOTOR, Force Unleashed, and Squadrons in this video. I am aware. For this topic, I just thought it'd be better if I stuck to the games I talked about in this video. I've also been thinking about making separate videos on those for a while now, especially Force Unleashed and especially KOTOR, so I wanted to kind of keep it fresh for you guys. Also, I'm not saying that Outlaws is going to be the worst game made by mankind. I was impressed with the style and some of the small details in the game, and it's definitely going to appeal to an audience. It's just not going to be what we are hoping, though. Some critics have claimed that it's like Red Dead Redemption in space, but even then it's heavily limited and grounded. I can already tell by looking at the creatures in this game that they're putting a huge emphasis on adding and expanding the universe, which we've already said is a very risky move, because if they don't have the heart of Star Wars in there, then you're going to suck a game, bad game. And I highly doubt they've got it. But what do you guys think? Again, I'm trying to build a community of people who want to fight for great games. So I am personally inviting you to tag along our adventure. Thank you guys for the support and the comments in the last several videos. I have absolutely loved getting a chance to talk with you guys about ideas and everything under the sun, even anime. And guys, one more thing. In your opinion, am I the only one who thinks this? Why does the main character, that whatever her name is, in Star Wars Outlaws look like every 80s movie mom? I can smell her through the screen. Why is that? Whatever. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And remember, life is short. Play great games. While it's all up to the individual player, it's still a 2-word sentence that'll ruin any family gathering dinner. So, Overwatch. This game has been fixing our keyboards and monitors for years now, but that doesn't mean the game hasn't gone through controversy, terrible updates, changes in development team, sequels that we never asked